The mansion stood in silence, its wide marble halls echoing with a sadness that money could never erase. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, but even the golden rays seemed unable to bring warmth into the heart of Victor Harrington, a man who had everything the world could offer, except the one thing he now desperately longed for. His only daughter, little Alina, was fading before his eyes. The doctors had given her 3 months at most, 3 months of borrowed time. For a man who owned towers that touched the sky and businesses across continents, the weight of those words crushed him more than any financial loss ever could. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the power of love that can heal even the deepest wounds, then please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps us keep telling stories that matter. Victor had always lived in a world of polished suits, glass boardrooms, and fast-paced decisions. But now, his world had narrowed down to the quiet room where Alina rested. She was only 8, her hair gone from countless treatments, her smile weak, but still radiant enough to make her father's heart ache. He brought in specialists from across the world, flying them in on private jets, paying sums that others could only dream of. Yet, every doctor shook their head with the same helpless expression. 3 months, no miracle cure, nothing money could buy. Into this world of despair stepped a quiet figure most people in the mansion never noticed. Her name was Marisol, a maid who had been working in the Harrington household for less than a year. She was known for her steady hands and soft voice, the kind that soothed rather than commanded attention. Every morning she carried out her duties, dusting the grand staircases, polishing the chandeliers, scrubbing marble floors while trying not to disturb the fragile quiet of the house. But it was impossible for her not to notice Alina. Marisol had seen the little girl sitting by the window with her toys, too weak to run and play like other children. She noticed the sadness in Alina's eyes whenever laughter from the gardens drifted in from the neighbors' children. She saw the father's attempts, lavish gifts, expensive dolls, and extravagant distractions, but none of it filled the hollow space left by her fading health. One afternoon, while wiping down the glass table in the living room, Marisol heard a soft voice behind her. Alina was standing there, her tiny figure framed by the sunlight, clutching a teddy bear so worn it looked ready to fall apart. Her voice trembled as she asked, "Do you think I'm going to live, Miss Marisol?" The maid froze, her heart shattering at the innocence in the question. She wanted to offer reassurance, but she couldn't lie. So instead, she knelt down, hugged Alina tightly, and whispered, "Sometimes life surprises us when we least expect it. Don't stop believing, little one." From that moment, something changed inside Marisol. She could not stand by and simply watch the child slip away. She didn't have the money or the medical knowledge that Victor possessed, but she carried something else. Hope born from struggle. Marisol herself had once been a mother. Years ago, in a small village far from this grand estate, she had a daughter who fell ill. Without resources, she had turned to natural remedies, tender care, and an unshakable faith that love itself could be medicine. Though her daughter hadn't survived, Marisol carried forward the lessons that comfort, joy, and hope could bring strength no treatment could buy. She began spending more time with Alina, not as a maid, but as a friend. She taught her how to fold paper into tiny birds and butterflies. She baked simple cakes in the vast kitchen and let Alina sprinkle sugar on top with her trembling hands. She sang songs in Spanish, filling the air with warmth, and even convinced the little girl to plant a flower in the garden, telling her they would watch it grow together every day. Slowly, Alina began to smile more. Her laughter, faint at first, started to echo through the hallways again. Victor noticed the difference. He would come home from meetings to see his daughter clapping as Marisol made balloon animals or sitting in the garden with a small shovel in her fragile hands, planting marigolds and roses. For the first time in months, Victor felt something shift. Alina was still sick, but she was alive in a way he hadn't seen before. It puzzled him, even humbled him, that the woman he barely acknowledged each morning was giving his daughter what no amount of money had achieved. Yet, Victor's heart remained guarded. He feared hope because he had already prepared himself for loss. Every night, he sat by Alina's bed, watching her chest rise and fall, wondering how many more nights he had left. Then came the day that would change everything. Alina's condition suddenly worsened. She grew pale, her small frame shivering despite the warmth of the blankets. Doctors rushed in again, filling the room with medical jargon and sterile equipment. Victor stood helpless, his throat tightening with dread. He thought this was the end. But while everyone else focused on machines and charts, Marisol quietly slipped to Alina's side. Holding the girl's hand, she whispered stories of bravery, of how flowers fight through the soil to meet the sun, of how her own daughter once taught her that the heart is stronger than anyone believes. She began humming a lullaby, her voice steady, pouring every ounce of love she had left into that fragile moment. Something remarkable happened. Alina's breathing calmed. Her tiny hand gripped Marisol's fingers with surprising strength. The doctors were baffled. Her pulse grew steadier. Her color slowly returned. No medicine had changed. No new treatment had been given. But Alina was fighting back, fueled by something beyond charts and numbers. Victor watched in stunned silence, tears streaming down his face. He realized that while he had been trying to buy more time with wealth, Marisol had been giving his daughter a reason to hold on to life. It wasn't just care she offered, it was love, the kind that sees no status, no salary, no boundaries. In that moment, the billionaire fell to his knees beside the maid, overcome with gratitude and guilt all at once. Days turned into weeks. Alina's strength grew little by little. She still had challenges, but she was no longer fading. She laughed more often, painted pictures for her father, and watered the flowers she and Marisol had planted, now blooming brightly in the garden. The doctors, once so certain, admitted they had never seen such resilience. Victor no longer cared about their predictions. He had learned to measure life not in months, but in smiles, hugs, and precious moments. One afternoon, Victor called Marisol into his study. The sunlight caught on the tears in his eyes as he told her she was no longer just a maid. She was family. He offered to fund anything she needed, but she shook her head gently. All she wanted was to continue being by Alina's side. That was her reward. The mansion, once silent and cold, now brimmed with laughter again. Alina's future remained uncertain, but the hopeless countdown had been broken. And Victor, the man who once believed money could buy every solution, had learned the greatest truth. Sometimes the richest gift comes from the simplest heart. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with your loved ones, subscribe to Kindness Corner, and leave a comment below. Your support helps us continue to spread hope and kindness across the world. And before we end, tell us in the comments, do you believe love and kindness can heal more than medicine sometimes? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Because in the end, it wasn't billions of dollars that gave Alina her strength. It was a maid's love, a flower in the garden, and the belief that even in the darkest moments, kindness can bring light.